everyone, this is Lily. I'm a social worker with Child Protective Services, and I made this channel to talk about some issues from my perspective. And excuse me, I am having trouble with my throat. I lost my voice and it's getting tired of me pushing it. But I really wanted to make this video. I've been putting it off. I've actually recorded it twice. And I just don't feel it's quite right. So I'm starting again. And so what I've been wanting to talk about is emotional abuse. When does CPS step in? What can be done about it? What does need to happen? Because this is one of these issues that I see come up a lot. I do like to watch a channel that talks about putting your kids on the internet, using your kids in your vlogging, to make money off of them. It's exploitation and should be considered child abuse in some instances. So I don't necessarily agree that this is something that CPS can do anything about, but I agree with the concept that it should be something that's looked into. Treating your kids as an adult to make money and not necessarily doing what's best for them. Teens that are being sexualized too soon, because sex sells and makes them money and they're not going to school. And it's just, it might not fall under any of the categories of abuse that we are able to take to court, but it kind of should. Part of the reasons why I was trying to rush getting through to this video, there was a story about a YouTuber that made videos about, or one that she was not canceling Christmas. She was getting Christmas gifts for all of her kids except two, because they were bad and they needed to learn their lesson, and it needed to hurt for them to understand that what they're doing is selfish. And this was an 8 and a 10-year-old, and it was this whole discussion of that's emotional abuse. You're traumatizing your children. You're weaponizing Christmas to punish them. You can't take Christmas away from a child. And completely disagree with that not celebrating Christmas is not abuse. But I understand that concept of picking on them, like telling them they're bad. That's the main thing. Like, you're basically telling them you're bad. Santa Claus doesn't bring gifts to bad kids, and you two are bad, and your siblings are good. That's troublesome. That's very troublesome. But here's the thing, CPS doesn't just come take your kids. That's not the purpose of our system. The purpose of our system is to educate and try to keep families together as much as possible. And in a lot of instances, it's not possible because it's not safe for the children. So, yes, that was not the best parenting. It might, by many, be considered not appropriate. But I'm not sure that that's something that we can take to court and say this is abuse. So how do we investigate emotional abuse, or what is emotional abuse? We need to be able to demonstrate that the parents' actions or lack of action, like not seeking mental health treatment for the kids, is causing severe emotional harm. We use the penal code for describe what is abuse. Has abuse occurred, to see if the investigation finds that yes, there was abuse or not. And then we use a different one to take to court to take away the children from the parents or open a case while the children remain at home. I have a video that explains more about this if you want to go check it out. So once we've determined we have enough concerns, the next step that we have to do is we have to have the evidence to go to court. And this other section, Welfare and Institutions Codes 300C, now we have to show that it's the parents' action or lack of action that causes severe I might be saying it exactly the same, but the difference is that it gives you like a little bit more severe emotional harm, such as depression, anxiety, I don't know, like there's a couple more. But now we're getting into, basically we need a medical diagnosis. And that's where we get stumped a lot. Because who gets to say what's severe emotional abuse or not? Well, if it's severe enough that somebody had to take you to the doctor, psychiatrist, therapist, and you got a diagnosis, then that's definitely severe enough, right? When it's a gray area, it's a lot harder for us to prove that. And it doesn't mean that we don't always try. It's just like the first thing we do is work with the families. So let's get into the examples because I've had one I remember. It was a 15-year-old girl had reported her mom made her feel useless. It was something like her mom's always on her case about doing the dishes, getting her chores done. So, mom is just being overbearing and she just felt really bad about it. She felt useless, like she could never please her mom. She was feeling down and just they were worried, right? So I go talk to the youth, talk to the mom. The girl explains to me she's having some issues like adjusting to high school, some problems with her friends. She feels a little depressed. The girl's words, not like it's not a diagnosis, that just she's feeling it. When her mom tells her she's not doing the dishes good enough, she feels like mom's telling her she's not good enough. She never said the mom told her she's useless. So that's a distinction, right? I went and talked to the mom. Mom had no idea that this is how her daughter felt. She apologized to her. We talked about some healthier communication, about the girl speaking up when she feels that way so that her mom will know not to do it anymore. We stabilized the situation, we closed. That's one example. Another example where we did step in, a 12-year-old was making suicidal statements. The mom was concerned. She took her to the doctor, but then like kind of blamed the kid anyways. And told her, like, like just snap out of it. Stop making dumb choices. So there was a lot of tension. And then the kid eventually ended up saying, I don't feel safe at home with my mom. So that's different. Now we have somebody that does have the mental health diagnosis because she's been in treatment for her depression and suicidal ideation. We did take the case to court and had her come out of the home, but it wasn't so much like a punishment to mom. It was just let's help you, mom. How do we fix the situation with your teen so that she can feel safe at home? So it wasn't, the mom did have her attitude issues. She was like, you do it my way or the highway type of person. And that communication style wasn't working for the kid. So there was a lot of intensive therapy. There was, different providers for the kid, for the mom. So the kid would come spend more time with mom. They did some compromises on things that were working out. And mom continued to follow through with her treatment. When she returned home, we followed up the case, and that was good. So that was a case that did go to court. But again, we had a diagnosis. We had a kid voicing that the way the situations at home, she didn't feel safe. Another one that was a lot trickier, we had a youth that kept attempting suicide. So she had about 4 or 5 hospitalizations before we opened the case. And it had, it was investigated, but mom would always, say, yes, I know she needs help. She would set up an intake. And we only have 30 days to investigate. So in between the incident, investigating what's going on, there wasn't enough time to make sure the follow-up happened. But we're not going to punish a parent because of wait lists. So she was showing all the right actions. But then eventually, after a year of trying and trying and trying, the situation wasn't getting better. So again, there was a medical diagnosis. There was the parents' lack of action that was not following through. So she would make the intake and then not take her. Or the kid would say, or well, mom said the kid didn't want to go. We asked to open a case with the youth still in the home so we could follow them longer and give mom assistance and making sure those appointments were happening, making sure that the kid was receiving their medication, all of that. Then eventually it got to the point where this kid realized mom is my issue. Then the kid ends up in the hospital again. In that situation, even though mom say up and down, I'm a great parent, it's not my fault, it's her mental health issues, and I tried so hard and I did everything I could. So that's when the court like really said, this is not whatever mom's intention had been or not, That's not appropriate parenting. That's dangerous. After months and months of therapy, right? She was super articulate in saying, I am not safe with my mom. I will never feel safe with her. She's like, I can barely take care of myself. I'm not going to be taking care of her because she's a hot mess. So, part of that case that I wanted to share was how difficult this situation was in court. So, as a social worker, I understood this is not what's best for this kid. She's made the work, but the parents also have rights. And we have to make sure that we're not violating those rights, that we're going through the process, that we're giving them every opportunity for 12 months to demonstrate change, even if they're trying and it's totally failing. The only way we would end it, their services early, their chance to reunify early for some for kids over the age of 3 or 3 and older, is if they're absolutely not trying, or if there is no contact, like the parents not seeing the kid. Now, in this case, mom was not seeing the kid, but because the kid refused. So every month, I would have to ask, are you sure you still don't want to see your mom? You know, I'm not gonna force you. I just have to let you know it's available. Mom was getting impatient with this approach, but I told her, I'm not physically gonna drag your kid into my car to drive her over to see you. That's not gonna happen. But I am constantly reminding. So the kid got fed up with me. And we actually had to go back to court. Her attorney said, this youth doesn't deserve this. Every time that the social worker asks if she wants to see her mom, she gets triggered. It's a reminder of the trauma she's been through her whole life. She's barely starting to get healthy away from that environment. And here comes a social worker, not, just doing my job. It's not good for this one particular kid. So we had to testify in court, bring therapist letters, have mom fight it, and then eventually the judge said, you're right. In this situation, there will be no visitation. There will be no mention of visitation for 3 months. And then we did that whole circus again. And then we had to do that whole circus again. Because the parents' rights do have to be considered. So we had to have the whole discussion of why at this specific point in time the kids' right to this is more important. Like their safety is very directly affected by this circumstance. Why am I bringing up all these examples that feel like they have nothing to do with what the question is? It's because it is. That's what we take to court for: emotional abuse. So parents being inappropriate, we do look at, are they scapegoating the kid? Are they calling them names? Are they placing, very excessive expectations on them? A lot of overbearing parents, that's just what they are. It doesn't necessarily put you at risk of dying or severe harm. So the way that it's system set up, I don't think I would ever see one of those cases where a influencer is using their kids for money. So that's exploitation and that's abuse. I don't see the way the system is now that happening. There needs to be a lot of change in legislation so that that change can trickle down. And when we look at, we only have so many resources. Who do we need to help first? That's not going to be a priority. And I'm not trying to diminish what it's like to be in that situation. So again, this is just my opinion, how I see things from my perspective on the inside. And it might not be the same in every place. And it's definitely not the same for every worker. This is just how my experience makes me think. It's definitely just an opinion. Let's leave it there. And thank you very much for spending the time with me if you made it this far. If you have any questions, you want me to talk about anything specific, just leave me a comment. And I'll see you next time.